Thousands of cases are backlogged at the Bexar County Criminal Investigation Lab. I found that out when I was at the lab for a different story, but I wanted to know why that was happening. The lab analyzes 3 separate categories: firearms, drugs, and DNA. So I requested 5 years worth of numbers on all 3 of them and sat down with the lab director to ask what they're doing to solve this. Let's start with the firearms backlog.
When there's a crime involving weapons in our community, those pieces of evidence end up here at the Bexar County Crime Lab.
It is firearms, bullets, cartridge cases, weapons, but it could be tool marks. If someone were to take a pair of channel locks and pry off a doorknob to break into a place, the marks left behind on that doorknob can be identified to the tool.
It takes a very specific person to analyze all of that and testify in court during criminal trials.
Firearms analysts are hard to come by. They really are. There aren't a lot of them in the country.
Orrin Dim oversees the Bexar County Criminal Investigation Lab and says most of the backlog in firearms cases has to do with staffing.
We wanted the full picture, so we asked for 5 years of data on the firearms case backlog, and here it is. Here are the number of cases, and here are all of the months. What we wanted to know is why this graph starts gradually rising since June of 2022. I was told it started with a rise in cases and not enough analysts.
It's not a huge increase. But then it starts climbing. We get into the budget cycle. We request an additional position because we're seeing this increase. We were given the position.
They were not able to find an experienced analyst, so they hired someone entry level, which means 2 full years of training. While that training was happening, their most experienced analyst retired in July 2024. 334 backlogged cases shot up to about 540 now.
When his cases come up for court, we've been asked to reanalyze them. So far, we've reanalyzed 27 of his cases consisting of 308 items.
And so that spike is happening in like 2024, mid 2024, late 2024.
Well, and we see it again here, right, in June of 25, we have another spike.
But while staffing catches up, Dim has started seeing a recent trend, a rise in complex cases that involve multiple shooters. Like this shooting in South Bexar County, a 16-year-old was arrested after 3 people were caught on camera unloading over 60 rounds and driving off. Dim's team has to analyze all of that.
How many shooters are there? How many guns are we looking for? And you're looking at the cartridge cases going, how many types of weapons can we identify?
Dim says despite more complex cases, they're about to be fully staffed, and he believes they'll start clearing that backlog, something KSAT will be checking back in on.
Next, we're taking a deep dive into the Bexar County Crime Lab's drug case backlog. What's been happening there and what the director had to do in order to bring those numbers down.
All the sludges, slimes, pills, powders, anything suspected of being a controlled substance is submitted to us for analysis.
Orrin Dim directs the Bexar County Criminal Investigation Lab, and his drug division has been on a roller coaster when it comes to backlogged cases.
So let's zoom into this. We requested 5 full years of data. Like Dim said, 2021 and 2022 look really good, even bringing this backlog of 740 down to 0. But here is where it starts to spike big time. This is March of 2023. And the big question is, why?
Part of the answer lies in this: marijuana.
Our caseload used to be about 10% marijuana. It's now about 40% that. And the analysis of marijuana and THC takes about 3 times longer than other drugs.
With other drugs like methamphetamine or cocaine, you just test whether or not it's present. But with THC, some levels are legal in Texas, so they have to see if it meets the threshold.
This month, we got in a record 765 submissions for analysis. We go back in time a bit here, we were only getting in 400 to 500 cases.
The backlog hit a peak of almost 4,600 cases in May of this year, so Dim turned to other crime labs for help.
So you had to outsource.
We had.
And when was that?
So the contract was signed in April. The first cases went out in May.
Of
and
this
that's
year.
when you start to see this dramatic decline.
Yep.
2,445 cases. That's down from a high of about 4,500 cases 6 months ago. That's significant headway.
They've asked the county for more employees, and those positions were approved.
We are going to continue with the outsourcing right now to help get this backlog to 0. We got 2 positions this year. We're in the middle of recruitment. We'll get those up and trained.
What he wants the public to know is there are strict priorities for these drug seizure cases.
People in jail. That list has been maintained under 30 days through this whole process.
So no one's just sitting in jail waiting for you guys to do this
absolutely
work.
not.
Okay.
The next priority,
Cases that the DAs need a lab report to indict.
That would delay a case at the backlog if the DA is waiting for it.
Right.
So there are fewer of those cases.
Much fewer.
and soon, hopefully none.
While the number of drug seizures seems to stay high, DIM is testing out new technologies that can help tackle these cases faster. The crime lab is also moving to a new facility in May. More space expected to help with efficiency. That efficiency also needed when it comes to the last division of the crime lab, DNA. In our final backlog story, I'm focusing on the hundreds of cases where DNA needs to be analyzed.
If DNA from a crime scene in Bexar County needs to be analyzed, it's sent here to the Bexar County Criminal Investigation Lab. Cases that affect public safety are prioritized, like we saw recently when a suspect was arrested in 63-year-old Stacy Dramiga's murder case. But hundreds of other cases that aren't at the top of the list are backlogged.
It is the first time in years the county has given the media this information. This is the backlog of DNA cases at the crime lab. We asked for 5 years of data and we made this graph. The most obvious point clearly right here. This is June of 2022 when it spikes. So I got to ask the lab director, what happened?
June 2022 is when we switched technologies. We changed our analysis technique. It's very consistent across the board. There's a reason that's a best recommendation, but that also takes longer.
Lab Director Orrin Dim says it now takes 6 weeks to test each piece of evidence. That's a problem when it comes to backlog, since the federal definition is any case unworked after 30 days.
That 30-day definition is baked into federal grants and how everything's been done, so it's not changing. So technically, every DNA case is going to be backlogged.
But there is another reason for the spike, and that's staffing. The county gave them more employees to tackle the backlog. But in January 2025, these numbers start rising again. Turns out the lab lost 3 employees, so adding staff became the answer again.
For October, we're coming back down again. And our backlog dropped from 388 to 349. And we expect that trend to continue to accelerate.
And this series doesn't just end because we've covered each division once. We plan to keep an eye on these backlog numbers and we'll update you if the lab hits another snag. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.